Hello, my name is Wendy Myers. Welcome to the SuperCharged podcast. You can learn more about charging up your body and getting abundant energy for life at getsupercharged.com. Today we have Debbie Hart on the show. She's going to be talking about what you see in a NES Health scan. This is one of the most commonly asked questions before starting a NES Health program and discovering what this revolutionary program is all about is, what do you see? What can I expect in a NES scan? And in today's podcast, if you watch the video that's on getsupercharged.com, you'll be able to follow along with my scan, my own personal scan. We get very, very personal on the show today. And I thought this was very important so that you can see all the screens, what the screens show, what kind of information they give, and make all those different connections to people's health issues and symptoms. And I talk about how I detoxed my ex on a NES Health scan. We also show you how you see emotional traumas and your immune system function and more in a NES scan. And we also talk about how NES can address various health issues that you're having. We also talk about a concern a lot of people have is if they start a NES Health program and don't feel any changes right away. And we talk about the subtlety of changes that can be happening while on a NES program and how you have to, in the beginning, maybe be very tuned in to the changes, the subtle changes that can be happening in your body. Some people, it's like a lightning bolt. They have these amazing changes within a very short period of time. And for other people, it can take a little bit longer, or you might hit a plateau on your program. And we discuss the reasons why and what you can do about them. Our guest today, Debbie Hart, has been working in holistic health for 13 years as a 1,200-hour CMTP professional manual therapist, level 2 CNR therapist and trainer, cranial sacral training therapist, NES Health coach and trainer, and a Kundalini yoga instructor. She changed careers to pursue her passion for healing after 18 years in the IT software consulting, training, and education development, having a BA in education and completion towards a BS in information science. Debbie's philosophy is that health is achieved when a person is able to find balance in all areas of body, mind, and spirit, and by tapping into the profound natural intelligence and powerful healing mechanisms innate in all of us. Her passion and mission in bringing all aspects of bioenergetic medicine and holistic healing into people's lives and homes continues in her current role as a NES and bioenergetic medicine consultant, coach, and trainer, as well as a creator of quantum energy medicine events and immersive experiences. You can see her website at sacredmatrices.com. Debbie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So you've been a NES practitioner and master trainer for 7 years. So can you tell us your story about how you got into NES?
Yes, I got into NES by way of Harry Massey. I met Harry Massey. I was a ScanR practitioner and a manual therapist and a cranial sacral therapist for about 10 years. And I met Harry in Santa Barbara when he moved there, California. And he introduced me to NES, and I added it to my practice. And I was a practitioner for about 2 years, and my background is in teaching and consulting. So I decided I wanted to teach and coach the practitioners, and so that's what I'm doing now.
Okay, great. And so tell us like your story about how you healed your health on NES, or NES is a bioenergetic program, just in case anyone doesn't know what that is.
Yes, so I had fibromyalgia like symptoms since I was about 23, and I'm 58. So about 10, 12 years ago, I started down my own healing path, and I did ScanR and got a lot of education and personal experience with cranial sacral, a lot of energy therapies between ScanR, manual therapy, and cranial sacral. And when I added NES, bioenergetic therapy, I started taking the infoceuticals, and started using the My Health quite a bit on myself and having other people do it on me. And I really could feel quite a bit of difference within really the first 3 months. Mostly just my base energy coming up, not feeling really tired when I got up out of bed, and being able to focus much more clearly. My brain fog went away. And just over the course of the last 7 years since I've been using it, I'm on it constantly. I'm constantly taking infusions and treating with the My Health, just sitting, at my desk. And it really, I can go through an incredible amount of stress at this point and maintain my energy and not feel like things wipe me out.
Yeah.
So that's like pretty much, I mean, I still have my periods where I'm tired or I can feel the stress on my system, but I can honestly say that I feel like I'm at a whole different level of resilience.
Yeah, and that's what I found too, that I really have a lot more stress resilience. I have
Mhm.
so much more stress. I mean, I love my work. Love, love, love my work. I'm so blessed. I wake up every day so excited to work and to teach others about health. But, it can be stressful. I give away a lot of myself. I give
Mhm.
away my energy to help other people. And I, have way more stress and projects and stuff going on that I'm excited about. But it can be very stressful, and I handle it so much better than I
Mhm.
did, when I started last August in 2016. My life has improved dramatically. And so we're going to walk through my scan today. This is about my 10th scan. It might be more 10th or 11th. And just to help you guys understand what kind of information you see in a NES health scan, bioenergetic scan. A lot of people are like, well, what do you see in the scan? So I wanted to illustrate for you guys very, very clearly with Debbie, who's a master trainer, what you'll be able to, what kinds of information you'll be able to see in a NES health scan. And I'm relatively healthy. I mean, I don't have any major health issues. I feel great most of the time, but I do have periods where I get tired, or days where I'll feel brain foggy, and days where I don't sleep so great. And that's perfectly normal. I mean, that's, everybody today. But I definitely want improvement in my emotional health. I definitely want more improvement in brain functioning, and I want more improvement in my energy. And I really want to correct any health issues that I may not be aware of. And that's what I'm using Nest Health for personally. So why don't we open up the Nest scan? And for anyone listening, it's probably going to be more helpful if you watch the video of this podcast rather than the audio. I know on iTunes you guys are just listening to the audio. It's going to make a lot more sense to you if you're looking at the Nest Health Scan video, which you can find on the corresponding blog post on live110.com or on our YouTube channel, the Wendy Myers YouTube channel. So you can just search for Debbie Hart on YouTube or the Live to 110 website and find it. So let's go do that right now. Okay, now we're looking at my scan. This is a Nest scan that I did yesterday. And so, Debbie Hart, why don't you just take it away and explain what this all means?
Okay. Well, this first screen that comes up is the energy screen, and you're seeing some reds here. There's a color palette over here, which is white to red, and these just stand for priority levels. So what's showing for Wendy is where we can support her optimally with the My Health device, which is the pulsed electromagnetic frequency device. Pretty much the most advanced one in the world. It's called the My Health. And so there's 70 different points, but on her, 4 of them came up as very high priority. So we can run the My Health device either on or off body over these points, and these represent energy blockages. So a lot of you have heard about meridians, and these are actually, when we click on these priorities, they just show the energy meridians that they fall on. And when we run the My Health over these points, it basically emits frequencies and helps clear these energy blockages. And as a part of the protocol, when you do a scan and you get a My Health treatment, it's incredibly rejuvenating. Many times, a lot of symptoms you're dealing with, like let's say you have neck pain or low back pain or knee pain, you'll immediately feel a shift And then throughout the rest of that day and overnight, you'll feel a shift happen in those complaints. Sometimes it'll go away completely. Sometimes it takes a couple times, but it's really, the My Health is really amazing for symptom relief. And the scan is so intelligent and actually maps out all of the high priority points. And so it's super easy to use. This one is at the ankles, and this is the gallbladder meridian. This particular one is the stomach, and it includes quite a few meridians. This point is in her esophagus, so she may or may not be symptomatic in these places. Are you symptomatic at all, like in the esophagus at all? Do you ever have any symptoms in your esophagus?
I do not. I don't ever have heartburn. I don't ever have trouble swallowing or anything of that nature.
Okay.
That I'm aware of.
Right, and these are high priority energy blockages, and sometimes if they're not resolved, you'll get the physical symptoms, but sometimes the physical symptoms are already present. And then this last one is at the kidneys. So we all know that our kidneys have a lot to do with our energy, and so when we release blockages, especially in an organ like this, our energy will come up. So we're basically just working at getting the flow of the energy of energy that's stuck or distorted in these areas resolved using the My Health device. That's what the screen is.
I know the kidneys are related to isolation also. And I do tend to isolate a lot because I work a lot, and I, love to, give to all my clients and the readers and listeners and all that stuff. But I think a lot of people in this day and age tend to isolate a lot, and that can start manifesting as physical issues in their kidneys.
Absolutely. So when you see each of these points, many times you'll see body over here. There's a file we call the help file, which just gives us more information. And it talks about body-mind association. So when we work on these points, we don't just work on the energy blockage, for example, in the kidney meridian, but we also work on the emotions. A lot of times there's shock and or trauma associated with these different points. And when we use the My Health over those areas, it actually works on the emotional as well as the other energetic areas, such as the meridians and other areas. So yeah, there's a lot of emotional stress that sits in the body. And this particular screen, many of these 70 points, there's 70 total, and they're all rated by priority. And so even the oranges, sometimes if we don't have that many reds, we'll work with the oranges, but this will work on the body, all the body-mind associations with those points.
Very interesting. And so what are my points here? So my reds. So we have
red, we have the esophagus,
and then this one is
we have the stomach.
Stomach. Yeah, sometimes I do get aches in my stomach.
And that could be, just, this is the gallbladder meridian. It's the stomach meridian. It's also what we call the heart protector. You'll see 3 different blue lines here that are on the screen. And it works when you work these points. It doesn't just work that particular area. It works clearing the entire meridian. So a lot of times, for example, you might have knee pain or you might have ankle pain, but the energy blockage is up here in the stomach. And when we work on that energy block, it helps release energy and the flow of energy along the whole entire pathway. So it's quite surprising how many symptoms that you might be dealing with that are surprisingly lifted when you work with the My Health. Here we have the ankles. And then again, like you were talking about, we have the body-mind associations. So talks about support, having a support system and maybe a support system being taken away. So it talks a lot about the emotional aspects of the ankles. So it's fascinating to look at the correlation many times between exactly what's going on with you and exactly where those energy blockages actually show.
You know what? My ankles are always coming up, and this is probably because I had surgery on both of my ankles when I was 15 and 16, where I had an overzealous podiatrist for sure, and he felt like my bone alignment wasn't correct. So he did this surgery where he lengthened my Achilles tendon, and he inserted a silicone tube in my ankle joint so the bones would grow aligned properly. It was like it
Wow.
was completely ridiculous. So opening up that synovial cavity, I hope I don't have future problems with my ankles, but I think there's probably blockage there from scar tissue and other things, and that's why they continually keep showing up.
Sure. Well, and so many times when we have trauma to the body, the energetic, residue of that trauma will still show until we clear it. So just by treating your ankles, you might be able to prevent a lot of things from arising from that surgery.
Yeah, and I
If you're
know
getting
that.
it corrected.
So I know that scar tissue can impede energy flow in the body, and there can be an energetic blockage where there is scar tissue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we can do quite a bit of work on these blockages and clear quite a bit of the energy blockages just within my health.
So let's take a look at the next screen, like the energetic drivers.
Sure. So here we have what we call the info screen. And in the info screen, we can go into different areas of the energetic body. And Wendy's talking about an area we call the energetic drivers. These are our organ systems. And one of the amazing things about NES is that the body heals in a specific order, which is part of the research behind NES. And so in terms of the organs, these organs are listed in embryological development order, which is fascinating that the body develops in embryological order and it heals in embryological order. So we see our cells, our nerves, our circulation, and this is all about these organs needing energy. So these are the batteries of our body. And when our energy is low, one or more of our organs might really need supporting. And what the scan maps out here, again, the colors are simply priorities. It doesn't mean that something is wrong at the physical level. It just means that these are the areas right now that you need the most support in. And by treating those with the infoceuticals, you will have the most optimum effect on your entire energetic system. So here you have your circulation driver. So this is your circulatory system. And it is over here in the health file, you can see that it's the primary driver for blood health and circulation. And there's a huge emotional factor here too. Many of these organs have a lot of emotional elements that really help support and balance the emotional system. So all the stress we're dealing with, we're holding in our body in different places. And the circulation driver, definitely it really shows here that the emotional state is definitely registering that it needs some support. Maybe there's been some stress. It's all about flowing. The blood is all about flow. So it's about being able to flow in our life. And maybe we've gotten stuck in areas of our life that we're working in right now. And the interesting thing about the circulatory system is that also is about the nervous system. So your nervous system is coming up as a medium priority. You've got your circulatory system, all about the flow of blood, also relating to the flow in our life, just really being able to flow really optimally. But the biggest thing that stands out here is the kidney. So the kidney is all about our yin energy in Chinese medicine. And whenever our kidneys show, it's really important to support those. They are linked to every single cell in our body. So when we treat the kidney, it actually treats the entire body. It's all about basic stamina overall, but brain stamina as well, brain clarity. The kidney really connects to the brain. So you would expect by taking that to really have a real shift up in your energy as well as mental clarity and just mental function in general.
Well, let me just do that My Health setting right now.
Yeah, the kidney driver is a really amazing infoceutical and definitely would help you just really strengthen that yin energy. And then, of course, we have another priority here, which is orange, which is the medium. And this is our frontline immune system. So it's just showing that your frontline immune system needs some strengthening. Actually, no matter which driver we use, these are all 16 different infoceuticals, which are liquid remedies with energetic information and then bioinformation to help correct these energy distortions specific to the person and what their priorities are showing. So the immunity driver, infoceutical, would help strengthen the very frontline immunity. And of course, the help file tells us a lot of details. These infoceuticals are really complex. They support so many elements of our immune system. As a group in general, all the drivers are all about strengthening the organs and strengthening the immune system, but then it shows the details of each particular infoceutical and what it does. So in this case, this is the very frontline immune system that we're born with. Whereas the spleen driver, if that was to show, that's about our acquired immunity that we acquire in our life. So, you had mentioned to me that you've got a fungal rash that keeps popping up.
Yes, it's very annoying.
Yeah.
Very annoying.
Yes, and that you've been controlling it with food grade hydrogen peroxide, but it keeps popping back up.
Yeah.
So this the scan is really correlating there, because what might happen is once the immune system is really strengthened, that might completely naturally resolve itself.
Yeah.
So, all three of these would help strengthen your immune system, but just correlating like to what's going on with you. So, I know you said you also, you want more energy. So the liver would definitely, or I'm sorry, the kidney driver would actually really help with that. Energetically, do you feel like you're kind of a little bit below normal on your energy?
I feel pretty good. I mean, I always feel like I would love more energy, but I might be a little bit low because I've been waking up in the middle of the night, where I've been sleeping through the night for quite a while. But just the last week prior to the scan, I was waking up in the middle of the night. And so I have been dragging around a little bit because of that.
Okay. Yeah. So the kidney would definitely, it's funny, but the more energy you have, the better you sleep. It's kind of the opposite of what you would think. So you'll be able to actually sleep better as well when your energy comes up, because the nervous system, when it's really strong, is able to control all the brain waves and regulate the entire system better. So you're going to sleep better. Yeah. So that's a bonus. So where else do you want to go? Do you want to go into the BFA at all, or the polarity?
Let's just look at this right now, the energetic integrators.
Sure. So the energetic integrators, the drivers we just talked about being the batteries of your body, they're going to help really support bringing the energy up in your organs. The integrators, these are about the flow of energy in your body. So it's about energetic flow and the whole body communicating. So there's 12 of them here, labeled EI1 through EI12, and EI just stands for energetic integrator. And basically they match up to the 12 Chinese meridians, but they're actually, the research behind them is that they're much broader than just the meridian. So we have the 12 Chinese meridians matching here. We have 12 integrators, and your priorities today. So there's, for example, at the very top, they're in priority order. EI1 is the most important, down to EI12. But you've got EI3 showing. So EI3 is about the small intestine. So this is about the flow of energy along the small intestine pathway. And you see a lot of sub-readings here. So what this is just showing, these are numbers that are from 0 to 4. And this is just showing the priority level of the sub-readings. So for example, here you have a 4 at the ileum tunica serosa field. So that's one of the subfields of the small intestine meridian. And it's actually the 8 inches of the small intestine that have to do with the immune system. So in your case, we've already seen, the immune system when we just looked at the drivers. And now we're seeing a little bit of a sub-reading here on the immune system. But generally speaking, what it's saying is that you need energetic support and correction in these keynote areas over here. The small intestine, your ability to metabolize calcium, which is vital to almost every function in the body. All the vertebrae. So you may be having some discomfort in some of your vertebrae in your spine.
I am. Yeah, usually
okay.
my S1, the very lower one, it just kind of acts up sometimes.
Okay. So it works on the entire information pathway. If we go to the back body here, we see that there's more sub-readings, and it actually shows that you have a 3 out of 4 energy priority at the lumbar. So that's pretty interesting that you just said that.
It always knows.
It
It's
does.
amazing.
It really does.
And just for anyone that's not clear on this, so the numbers here are 0 to 4. Can you just explain what those are?
Sure. 0 to 4 is just the level of priority and energetic distortion. So a 0 would be no priority today. A 1 would be higher, and then a 4 would be the highest priority. And we would generally address those with the My Health. So these sub-readings are all pulled into this energy screen, and it tells us exactly how to work with those with the My Health device. Okay, so you've got a high priority on the small intestine, but your highest priority is in terms of just energetic flow in the body. So this is kind of like, you can think of it like acupuncture on steroids, actually, because when you take these infoceuticals, these Integrator infoceuticals, it's basically laying down all of the information for the liver meridian. So you're actually correcting the entire pathway at one time. So here we have the liver meridian, and we can see over here that generally speaking, this has to do with microbial disease. So we talked about your fungal rash. There could be some strong support here by taking the liver meridian infoceutical. It's called Energetic Integrator 8.
Yeah, because I know, the liver detoxes your body. When the liver gets backed up, you can have stuff start coming out of your skin that the liver wasn't able to process or filter. And I've done a liver detoxability test. My liver's not working so hot. And I try to support it as much as I can with taking glutathione and doing coffee enemas and things like that, because I know that's probably like a weak point for me.
Sure. And the liver is a really strong immune filter. So again, we're looking like as a general pattern, we're looking at the scan showing that you really want to support your immune system. So the mediastinum here, we talked about the sub-readings, and those are being priorities 0 through 4. So you have a really high priority on the mediastinum, which has to do with the immune system. And if we take a look and we dig down, we can hit these little pluses and we can look down inside some of these organs in different areas. So what's showing in the liver is that your liver is relatively low priority today, but that your pleural cavity, which links into the liver, is a 4. So what that says is basically we just need to correct the communication, the overall flow of information from the lungs, from the pleural cavity into the liver. And by taking that infoceutical, that would do that.
I just love the detail, the physiological detail, where you can see where all of the energetic blockages on the most minute part of your body. It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and you had mentioned to me too that you were really looking for more, metabolic support, really get your metabolism, your muscle tone, your exercise recovery. And the liver is very much also involved in metabolism. So there's so many broad areas that these, infoceuticals would be supporting.
Aren't we all looking for more metabolic support?
Yes. I don't know anybody that isn't.
That's one of the reasons I'm doing this. No, it's just because I know it's going to correct a lot of metabolic issues. Like if your pancreas isn't functioning so well, you're going to have trouble with blood sugar metabolism, and that can cause you to gain weight. If you're not absorbing nutrients, you're going to crave food. And this helps to correct that by getting your small intestine working better and getting your liver functioning. So your hormones working better, and just all these things that contribute to, the things that women struggle with when they're, post 30s and start really struggling with their metabolism for various ways. And this system kind of, works on that.
Absolutely. It really works incredibly deeply on the metabolism. And, the liver also, I don't know how your eyes are, as far as your vision, but whenever we're looking at the liver, we're always, as you can see here, we've got to dig down into the eye. We can really help support eye health. So if we're, starting to go into any of the different, whether it's just your vision or whether it's, going into different eye disorders, you can really help support the eye before things manifest by correcting the liver pathway here.
One
So
thing I did
that's,
notice is after I started NES in August of 2016, and barely shortly thereafter, my glasses stopped working, and I thought my vision had worsened,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
needed to get a new prescription. But I haven't checked if it was an improvement in my vision or a worsening. I just automatically assumed it was a worsening, but it might have been an improvement. So I've actually been meaning to look at that and see if it was actually an improvement.
That's really interesting. Really interesting. Um, so
But
yeah, you had mentioned too that you really wanted to continue to facilitate detox. And so obviously the liver is, one of the major detox organs. And so it would also support just detoxification, by taking the liver integrator here. So notice here too that this particular pathway in the body can be damaged by fungus, candida, and mycoplasma. So when you mentioned your fungus, this really correlates to, the support of the correction of fungal damage. So you might be surprised how this affects your skin.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I've definitely been having some funky skin issues the last year.
well, now, are you on this protocol right now? Have you started these pharmaceuticals yet, or?
I've started a couple of them and waiting for them
Okay.
to arrive in the mail.
Okay. Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see after you take this protocol how your fungal rash is doing. So this next one is the very high priority. It's red, and it's called the Heart Protector. So this is all about, remember how we saw back in the energetic drivers, we saw circulation showing. Now we're in the pathways and we're seeing, again, circulation. So definitely overall, we're seeing immune and we're seeing circulation as areas that you really need support in right now. And if we look inside, for example, the heart looks today, no priority. So
Clean as a
that's not
whistle.
clean as a whistle. We have the female system, which is part of this particular pathway. We don't have any major priorities there. So just overall, it's probably showing that you just need some support on like inflammation. EI10, Integrator 10 pathway really helps support inflammation in the body, which of course is at the root of just about everything. And so it talks here about just correcting the circulatory system and the whole neuroendocrine regulation. So, our endocrine system as women and as men really runs our body. And so this is really going to help not only just the circulation, but it's also going to help regulate the endocrine system. And the endocrine system controls our emotions, it controls our metabolism, it controls, all of, even our sleep patterns. The neuroendocrine system is so powerful at regulating almost everything in our body.
And it's interesting that like the pharynx is coming up, so that's swallowing, and then my esophagus came up as having a blockage. But my father did develop esophageal cancer, but passed away from his cancer treatments. And I wonder if I kind of like hold something there, like as a trauma, to do, because he had trouble swallowing for a long time before he got his diagnosis. So I always kind of wondered if I maybe, have holding something there emotionally.
Absolutely. Like the stress that's showing when you have your 3s and 4s, definitely so much of the time, anything chronic usually has a really high percentage of emotional stress in it. So, if this will probably correct with this pharmaceutical, but definitely when you see the high numbers, you can always definitely think about stress or trauma or just, any kind of conflict that might be holding there.
Yeah, the pharynx, it continues to show up.
Okay.
So it just keeps kind of popping, rearing its ugly head.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's always going to go to our weakest link. And so that for you just might be a weak link, in your energetic system.
Oh, you know what I do? I have constant throat clearing. And my mom has this too. She clears her throat like every 30 seconds. And so I've noticed I kind of have that too, where there's probably like something physical going on as well. Forgot about that.
Well, and you do show your mucous membranes. The mucous membranes are a big part of EI3. It's one of the primary areas it corrects. You are showing mucous membranes there too. So, which of course our whole esophagus is lined with all those mucous membranes. So you're going to get a double correction, a double support there. But definitely inflammation is one of the main focuses of EI10 and the neuroendocrine system. And then just what's really cool about the integrators is not that everything in the scan doesn't have a lot of emotional support, but there's specific emotions associated with each of the pathways. So this one is trustfulness, thoughtfulness, and doubt. And I always tell people that when they take the infoceutical, they would expect to have a really strong positive shift. So if they're struggling in any of these areas, not trusting or, having doubt, they're going to be able to shift much more when this pathway is corrected into the really positive side of those emotions.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people have liver come up, and the emotions are compassion, tolerance, so we would expect to completely make a shift there in terms of just being more tolerant, not just with others, but with ourselves, and just kind of feeling much more calm.
Yeah, I struggle with that one.
Yeah.
Tolerating myself and others does not play well with others. No, I do, but I have a lot going on. I have a team I depend on, and it's like I need stuff done. So it's something about a lot of tolerance and stuff isn't done.
Yeah. And so have you noticed that kind of since you've been on the infoceuticals, just generally speaking, do you feel like your stress level has come down and you're able to handle a lot more?
Night and day.
Yeah. That was the biggest thing for me too.
Huge, because I'm just like, I don't react as quickly. I'm more calm generally. I feel more like connected to people in the universe. Kind of weird to say that, but I just feel kind of more connected and more joyful, and definitely feel a lot less stress. Like I can handle a lot more stress, and I'm just calm about it, and less anger for sure as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, between the drivers giving us a lot more energy and correcting our organs and actually really strengthening our immune system, and the integrators correcting the flow of energy. Many times it's just trapped stress. And once the flow gets going, we feel this release and this calmness. So by correcting those two areas, you've got a lot of real baseline correction in the energetic system. And the energetic system governs the physical. So we can't see it, but it's there, and it's around every single part of our physical body. Everything that has a structure, like a bone or a cell or an organ, it has an energy field around it. And that's what we're looking at here. We're actually looking at our energy fields that are constantly communicating and sending information around the body. And so these integrators are all about getting that communication corrected in all these different pathways. And the drivers are all about energizing each and every organ that comes up as a priority. And between the two, you have a really strong baseline correction. We probably want to take a look at the mind screen. This is an amazing part of the research behind NES, and it really is about our story, what's happened to us, traumas and events that have happened that have stayed with us, as well as just everyday stress, which usually registers here under ESR, that stands for emotional stress release, which is one of everybody's favorites. So here we have like just the emotions mapped out. And today for you, we have an area down here called the Brain Holograms. And the Brain Holograms are about trauma and conflict or shock, so to speak, that is actually something's happened where we've not been able to release it, and it gets stuck in one of the areas. I can show you here that we have 4 areas in our brain that basically are energetic, and they will release or hold different shocks and conflicts that we go through in our life. So for you, in this particular case, your brainstem hologram as an infoceutical is coming up. And then we can see different priorities, 0 being no priority, and 4 being high priority, in specific areas that are related to that area in the brain. So the brainstem hologram is kind of all about early childhood or early life trauma and shock. And what you're showing here again is interesting. So all of this these priorities that are coming up. This is the esophagus, and it talks about something that maybe we couldn't, that we choked on, that we we just couldn't take it in at all. Something happened to us at some point that was just so traumatic that we couldn't take it in. And so maybe, and NES goes 7 generations back, so we all come in with a lot of things, and these are actually in our subconscious, so we may not be fully aware of things, but energetically, these scans, as Wendy, you said, they're always amazingly accurate. And what's beautiful is that when we use the MyHealth over that area, as well as the infoceutical, we will immediately start releasing the energy that's trapped there
What I
from some of
love,
this stress.
yeah, what I love about NES is that you address emotional traumas that we know from all kinds of research outside of NES that these things cause physical health issues. And how are you going to address that with conventional or even functional medicine? You don't. And this is incredibly important. And the problem is we're not conscious of a lot of emotional traumas that we have or that are acting on us or driving our behavior and our emotions and our compulsions. And when you start a Nest Health program, you typically find you start dreaming really vividly, like you just start unconsciously filtering all this emotional garbage when you're like releasing it. And a lot of people would say, oh, I didn't really feel anything in the first month. But a lot of people, there's very subtle things going on. Like you start having these very vivid dreams and other little things that are subtle, but they're there, that are incredibly important that you begin releasing.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned the feeling of isolation, and we saw your kidneys come up. And what's interesting here is that it looks like that the kidney itself, one of the reasons it's such a high priority is that there's maybe some trapped emotions there, there's some trapped stress there, and the kidneys are about emotionally and energetically isolation and abandonment.
Yeah.
And so being able to release that is imperative. If it doesn't get released, then we can actually physically start getting things happening at the physical level.
Yeah,
So,
and that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this, was to actually detox my ex-husband, which I know a lot of people can identify with, because I was in a very bad marriage. I was very isolated and felt very alone, even though I was with somebody, and probably has affected my kidneys. And then maybe like the last 6 months, I decided not to date and just focus on my work, focus on my daughter. And there's a certain amount of isolation and not really connecting with other people that has been kind of a theme the last 6 months, that now I feel like I'm ready to change and start dating again.
well, and it really is a difference. I mean, you work with people all day long. I work with people all day long, but it's different. It's different than, your personal life and your relationships and really wanting to be connected again that way,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is very different, and it's important to be balanced and have a social life. And for me, I really felt like Ness has helped me move through a lot of emotional stuff to where I can feel more open and ready to let another significant other in.
Right. So what's amazing is, we can work with the MyHealth because it's showing right here that we can just simply run that program over the kidneys. We can work with the brainstem hologram infoceutical. We can also work with the kidney infoceutical. So you have like your whole scan is showing all the, the support that you can give your kidneys. So basically your immune system, your liver, especially in regards to like microbes, possibly with the fungal rash, and just the whole emotional area, I think is going to be just completely supported. So you should have your energy coming up. You should have your immune system strengthened. Brainstem is definitely going to increase with the kidney. And then, any of these past stresses, you should really start feeling, like you said, a lot of times you dream really deeply. You really start feeling a release there, and just freeing of sometimes trapped energy that we're really not aware of. And all of a sudden we're like, wow, what shifted? I had this crazy dream last night and I feel so much better today. So it really will release and come out.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're actually conscious of it based on our dreams. And we can get really irritated for a day or two. I mean, definitely this is a this is a really powerful screen. These are powerful infoceuticals. And sometimes in the middle of the release, we might feel a little agitated for a day or two. And then like day 3 or so, or day 2, we might feel this amazing shift. I don't know if you've gone through any of that with Ness,
Oh, I
Wendy.
haven't had any of that at all.
Yeah. It's it's a really positive thing. We want things to move. We don't want things to stay stuck, but as they move at the physical and the emotional level, we're going to feel some shifts and changes in our body and in our mental and emotional state as things are balancing. So the good news is that at the end of it, you can clearly see generally when you run. We've got a report section down here, but you can actually really see the energetic shift that's taking place, and hear the stories, that are along with that.
And you really want that. I mean, part of the reason people do a bioenergetic program is to facilitate change physically and emotionally in their body. And I know some people hearing this might be like, oh, well, I don't want to bring up the past, or they're worried about having more anxiety or more depression, or they might have abuse in their past. But this is one of anyone, like myself, has done a lot of talk therapy. It's really slow and, it's helpful, but I feel like this type of bioenergetic release is incredibly powerful and not something really to be concerned about, but to be welcomed, because we want to release this stuff. And like you said, we're not conscious of a lot of the ways that these past traumas drive our behavior today. And I think it's like therapy without all that annoying talk therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you want me to go through the transformations and get into any of the other areas at all?
Maybe just for 2 seconds, just so people can see what's in there.
Okay. This is a really amazing screen for those of you who are familiar with the energy centers that go from the root chakra, is what chakra meaning wheel of energy, to the crown chakra. And these are actually amazing in that, and you don't have any that are really high priority, but for example, here we have honesty. These centers actually relate to physical systems in the body. And what's amazing is to look at your scan like we just did, and then come in here and look and see what chakra is related to the physical system. So we saw your circulatory system. So the throat chakra is actually related to the circulatory system, the health of the circulatory system. We saw your endocrine system coming up remember when we saw the pathway for EI10, the heart protector pathway, it's related to the endocrine glands. And then the triple heater meridian and circulation is also related. So the triple heater meridian is related to the thyroid and energy metabolism. But all of these that we may be struggling with actually are processed by these chakras or energy centers. So simply speaking, we can actually take the My Health and we can simply run it over the throat center with the honesty program. And we actually are going to put corrective energy into that area to further support these systems that we're already addressing with the infoceuticals.
I
So
do
it's really supportive.
On the My Health, I do the transformation setting quite a lot,
Mm-hmm.
where you balance all the chakras with that setting.
Yeah, that one that Wendy's talking about, it actually has all 7 chakras in it, and you can actually run it. It's a 27-minute cycle, and it actually runs through all the chakras for a full chakra balancing.
Well, I do it when I'm feeling lazy and I don't feel like doing all my ER points.
Yeah.
Just so I can do something.
Yeah, I mean, you can simply lay down and put it at your solar plexus and let it run. And it's a very powerful way to support, an easy way to support the rest of the scan. Did you want me to touch at all on nutrition and environment and just generally talk about those at all?
Yeah, for sure. Let's look at the nutrition screen. Just so people because I want people to know everything that they would see in a scan.
Sure. So the nutrition and environment screen, these screens do not show like whether you're functionally high or low on anything. They actually show how your body at the energetic level is metabolizing. So you may be getting plenty of vitamin B3, for example, here, or plenty of vitamin B5, but your body's not metabolizing them. And what you'll see is when you take the nutraceuticals that are recommended based on your highest priorities, just by the nature of those priorities. For example, she had EA3 come up, small intestine. Once you correct the small intestine pathway, many of the nutrients are going to automatically start absorbing and metabolizing correctly. So what we look for here is just information like what's showing. Overall, we can correlate to the other priorities in the scan. The one that stands out for me is your small intestine. Once we correct that, and it actually shows here as part of one of the 3 areas that are going to support really correcting absorption. So when you back in that EI screen, if you were to take this, it would help this whole entire screen because it would help your small intestine absorb everything. But we can dive into these on individual scans, and we can, if they don't clear and they don't start shifting in their priority and they hang in there, we actually have ways to go in, and specifically in the health files, it will specifically talk about nutraceuticals that will help with the metabolism and the absorption of these nutrients.
And that's one of the main reasons I like to use NES Health with my clients, is because a lot of people have compromised ability to absorb nutrients. And that's why they take all these expensive supplements and may not get better, and even do that for years, because so many of us have compromised guts and intestinal lining and ability to absorb nutrients. And this is such an amazing way to restore gut health and function, which is, one of the seats of our poor health today, because our guts just aren't absorbing nutrients.
Right. Well, and you were mentioning metabolism too, and this is just at the energetic level. It's rating your carbohydrate and your glucose metabolism at a high priority, red being very high and orange being high. So you were talking about how much you would love to have some metabolic support, and simply by taking the small intestine integrator, you're going to have a nice correction on your absorption. Because you're absorbing, your metabolism is going to improve. And then we can always go a little deeper with the system, and we can always look in the future if you don't start making that shift on specific nutraceuticals that may come up later to further. So every time you do a scan, it kind of goes a little deeper. It's like peeling back an onion. And so we make the corrections based on the scan, and then we take a look and we see, how you're doing and how you're feeling. If you're making some nice progress, and we go a little deeper, the next scan is going to go in, and it's going to further support all those priorities, such as your metabolism. So the metabolism is one of the base systems for everything energetically has a metabolism. And we don't generally, when we first scan, the first couple of scans, we don't get into what we call the stars, but these areas we get into later are very specific to metabolic areas of the body. And so we always have a door we can open. We always have a place we can go to go deeper and to further support. For example, here, the metabolic system, and here we have the whole immune system coming up. But when we first scan, we really have to honor the sequence of healing of the body, and the body heals we haven't gone into the screen yet, but this is just all about how much energy you have, basically. We went into the organs, which is the energetic, the energetic correction and how much energy and charge each of the organs have. And we went into the pathways, the flow of energy, and we went into the mind, which is the mental, emotional support. But we do have more areas we can go into later, and they are specifically deep areas inside the immune system, and working on correcting entire metabolic areas in the body field. So, but just working in these 3 levels that we just looked at, you can make amazing correction in the deeper layers. There's this huge cascade effect that happens.
Yeah, so let's go over this screen here.
Yeah.
So what does this do?
So this is all about how much energy you have, and these are at the very top. If you were to think of the body field as a pyramid, these are at the very top of the body field. The next layer down in the field is the drivers, which we went into with the organs and the integrators. So this screen is all about how much energy we have, whether our electrostatic charge is actually correct, We are electrical beings. We are, we have to be kind of negatively charged for our body to be really healthy. So for example, here, the big field aligner, this is the overall relationship of our energetic system to the Earth's axes. This is our relationship to the Earth. How grounded are we? Are we in line with the Earth? So the Earth has different axes. This is called the big field. And this infoceutical works on helping our body realign with the Earth's fields. So at the energetic level, it's really important. It's kind of like our GPS system. We really have to be in line with the Earth. And the Earth has different axes. And there's also a grounding reading for how grounded you are. And so you're showing today a little bit of support needed in what we call the magnetic area of the big field. It's just, it's related to the blood. It's related to the immune system. And hot and cold regions in your body, like you might be experiencing some hot areas randomly or some cold areas randomly. And that is very related to the blood and the immune system. So at the very highest level, if the big field comes up, it's one of the most important infoceuticals to focus on. And here we have the vertical axis, another part of the Earth's axes, and it's linked very, very closely to the nervous system and sleep patterns. And you said you had been waking up at about 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
On a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so what you would expect with taking the big field, along with some of the other infoceuticals, is real strong support for the nervous system, because it's kind of the core of everything. And so correcting that could actually help you shift out of that circadian rhythm. But the biggest thing that we see with your circadian rhythm is the night. So we have the big field that we just looked at, our relationship to the Earth. We have the polarity, which is our charge. Are we positively charged or are we negatively charged?
Yeah, my big field aligner and polarity were the last infoceuticals I just finished. Okay. And so those came up red on my last scan, and you'll see they've cleared very quickly.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of shift there if they used to come up as a priority, because they're only yellow and green now. And if we want our body to heal in general, many times we think, oh, we have a heart issue, or we have a stomach problem, or we have a knee problem. We need to go right to it and fix it. With NES, what we need to do is honor the body's sequence of healing. And the body actually needs to have these two areas corrected before anything else can really make a big shift. So it's kind of like the foundational energetic correction. And polarity is, stress, air travel, fast speed travel at all, non-native radiation, like a lot of cell phones, computers, all the stuff we're exposed to, all of that can affect our polarity.
Yeah. And I try to explain it to clients, we, as cavemen, we walked on the ground, we slept on the ground, and over millions of years, our bodies developed this, our cells developed this electromagnetism that matches the Earth. And we have to restore that. And there's so many things that interfere in that, like the electromagnetic fields, the EMFs from cell phones and cell phone towers, and microwaves in our computers, and all these various things interfere in our body's magnetism and really throw off our health. And so you have to correct that, but also tend to EMF pollution in your environment, which is a big theme for me right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the EMF is such an invisible toxin, and it's so insidious in so many things. So many of us, have sleep issues or nervous system issues, lack of focus, just basically feel like we're in fog. And so much of that can come from electromagnetic frequency. So, and we actually, let me just jump out for a second. We haven't gone into the environment screen yet. And today you're really not showing a high priority on electromagnetic frequency, but this just shows us if there's things in our environment that are basically taxing us and that we need to pay attention to. Okay, so we're also looking at here 2 components that are actually relatively new in the last year and a half. They are the day and the night readings, which are very related to circadian rhythms. So in regards to waking up, at 3 in the morning, which a lot of us, have different times that we'll always wake up. That's definitely related to our circadian rhythm. And you're showing night. So that would really correlate to what you're telling me about waking up at 3 in the morning on a regular basis. This infoceutical, both of these actually are amazing. in terms of correcting the, our ability to have really good energy during the day, and our ability to generate energy at night for restoring and repairing our body. So what this is basically saying is that your body is not able to generate energy very well at night. Of course, NES is all about energy. So your day looks like you're doing really good in terms of priority level. It doesn't mean that it's good or bad. It's just not a priority today. And this is about the body's ability to generate energy from the sun. And it matches to the sympathetic nervous system. So if we're always kind of in that go mode and we're always in sympathetic, and our body's unable to kind of relax and wind down and go into parasympathetic, it's going to show up in night. So night is the parasympathetic. And it's an amazing pharmaceutical. You take it in the evening. You can take very high doses of it. It's extremely supportive also for the big field. So if we're having issues in our field with just generally the relationship to the earth or the charge that we have, the night will support the correction of those, as well as just getting into our deep into our cells and allowing our body to generate the energy it needs while we're sleeping. It actually takes and generates infrared light from our fat cells. So at night, we actually generate energy from our fat cells and turn it into infrared light. And this pharmaceutical helps correct that.
That's why I like the night pharmaceutical, because it helps your body burn fat for energy, like it should be.
Yeah. And, you had mentioned to me about, your EMF exposure and how you really want to try to get some more EMF protection for your bed. And this does actually, electromagnetic radiation actually really affects this field. So that could really be helpful for you to just find that EMF support.
Yeah, NES gave me a lot of awareness about EMFs, because you can see in the scan, we haven't covered that screen yet, the environment screen, but we can see what EMFs or electromagnetic fields that our bodies are sensitive to. And for me, I had a huge, tremendous change in my sleep and my energy levels when I moved from Malibu near the beach, and was, really not exposed to very much EMF at all, and very grounded, walking on the beach every day, and then moved to central Los Angeles, where it's EMF hell on earth. You're just constantly bombarded. I mean, there's 400 cell phone towers within a 5-minute radius. I mean, I checked on this website you can check on. And so I was just a little, with little understanding or little unbeknownst to myself, I just was being bombarded with EMF. And within about 6 months, I was waking up completely exhausted, going, what is wrong? Like, why do I feel this way when I'm supposedly this really healthy person? And it was frustrating to me. And NES helped me realize it was the EMF. So now I'm going into much more EMF protection mode, where I'm getting a sleep canopy. It's like a mosquito net with copper and silver threads in it to completely shield my body from EMF while I sleep.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, and what's amazing here too is that we talked about your kidney. So this matches, there's a lot of detail in this health file, but it matches to the kidney, and it matches to the pineal gland and the melatonin and the DHEA. So all of that will be corrected when you take this pharmaceutical. And a lot of people are very aware of, they're taking melatonin and they have DHEA problems. So that will really correct that. It just talks about, all of the EMF and how that can really, but it goes into very great detail here in terms of people that have like metabolic issues, diabetes type 2, which is on the rise, high blood pressure. This pharmaceutical really matches to those at a physical level, and will really help support the correction of those. So some of the things that you've mentioned, you want your, metabolism support. I'm sure you don't have high blood pressure, but, it's just really good to see all the complexity and all the different areas that this pharmaceutical corrects. So basically, you should wake up feeling much more restored. You should probably not continue to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning after you've taken a good bit of this. you should feel a real shift in your sleep and your energy when you get up, and also your metabolism. So when you get your energy up, your metabolism starts going up and starts functioning much better. And the screen is all about that, getting your energy up, getting things. Your body can't do much at the energetic level without enough energy. So sometimes when you first start with NES, it's all about getting your energy up. It's all about correcting your organs, which we saw, the energy behind your organs, strengthening the immune system, getting information flowing, which we saw in the integrators, and then resolving and releasing a lot of stress and emotional trauma and conflict that we've all experienced in our lives. We correct all that, which is the baseline corrections, and we can make some amazing shifts.
Let's look at the environment screen.
Yeah, the
See what's in
environment screen.
there.
So you're showing, so this is an actual pharmaceutical EMF. We have a line of pharmaceuticals called Feel Goods. EMF is one of those. And this has a broad range correction on electromagnetic frequency. So many times when people start, you said you've already been working on that with NES. They'll have some high radiant serum. We can support them. Not only with the MyHealth, which you see in the picture there, all of these programs are on the MyHealth, but we can also support immediately with the EMF pharmaceutical, which makes a systemic correction. And so priority-wise, you're showing priority for something called PCP, which is under the insecticide. And this doesn't mean you have PCP in your system. This just means that your body cannot deal with it. So there's a real sensitivity. There's probably a little bit of damage there energetically. And this is for those people who wonder what that is. It's an insecticide that's used for insect control. So a lot of us have been exposed to it, maybe in different houses we lived in, rental properties, that kind of thing. And it's interesting too, because we can start making really detailed connections if we want to. Remember how you had EI10 come up?
Yes.
In your integrator? So this is, by taking EI10, you should see these priorities in the environment stream starting to change. So we've got the other high one that you've got here, priority-wise, is a solvent. And this is, again, just the ability of the body field to deal with it. And this is a chemical used in printing. So it's a paint, found in paint thinners, found in fuel. So obviously we've all been exposed to that. And it has a distorting effect on the energetic system. So it talks about how it affects the circulation, the stomach, and the bowel lining. And we've seen your circulation come up. So when we correct the circulation, we correct the bowel lining, for example, through EI3, we're going to correct any damage from xylenes. It may take some time depending on the level for you. One thing that's important for everybody to know is that these reds there's no standard. These reds are relative to the person. So a relatively healthy person might have a lot of reds, but it may be a very, even though it's a high priority for them, it may be a very low distortion level. Someone that's been sick for a very long time, a red for them might be a lot bigger distortion, and it may take a little bit longer. But basically, just remember that it's all just relative to you. So there's nothing ever to be alarmed about, so to speak.
One question I had, I know a lot of other people have experienced this as well, is when you start a NES Health program or you're continuing on one and you don't feel any changes. Can we talk a little about that? Because I know that's very sadly, there's a number of people that start a NES Health program. They'll give it like 30 or 60 days and then they're like, I don't feel anything. And they just quit and they don't believe in it. And can you explain why that happens?
Well, sometimes it's perception. Sometimes it's expectation. If something has been extremely chronic and deep for a long time, it can take some of the things that you're focused on, like let's say you want your whole digestive system corrected. You've had extreme digestive problems. The first thing that's going to happen with NES is that your energy is going to come up. And it has to come up far enough in order for the body to have enough strength to heal. You'll find your mental focus coming in to a much clearer place. You'll find your stamina, your sleep quality, some general energetic shifts, your sense of well-being. Most people say they feel immediately within the first cycle of pharmaceutical therapy that they feel much less stressed. That all has to happen before some of the deeper shifts. So sometimes it's just a matter of what you're expecting to feel. But if you're on high enough dosages, in the first 7 to 10 days, if you're actually not experiencing some of the shifts that you'd like to feel, generally speaking, as a practitioner, I will always increase your dosage, and I will continue to increase it until I know kind of what your set point is, what you can handle, and I will treat you much more aggressively. But I always tell people that when they first start, we're going to monitor, we're going to keep increasing the dosages. We're going to be more comprehensive. We might give you 6 instead of 4 infoceuticals, whatever it takes to get shift to happen with you. We might actually do more of my health treatments to give your body more energy. So each person is very unique, and what they need to initiate shift might be different than the next.
Yeah. And
so,
one thing that I guess people don't want to do usually is go from the 9 drops a day to 15 or even 28, because it's a lot more expensive. So a lot of people complain, oh, I didn't feel anything, but at the same time, they don't want to increase the dosage because it's going to cost more money. So people kind of have to be aware of that, there's some people like myself, I'm just not sensitive. I have to do 28 drops of everything. And even then I still may not technically feel change, but I know enough about this program. I know there's massive change going on. I just can't feel it going on at the cellular level. So I'm being very, very patient with it. And I know I'm going to reach my health goals, and I'm not going to be able to do it any other way.
And usually you can look at where you start. Usually you do, just even a basic intake on like just what your biggest complaints are, and rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. And sometimes we're so busy and we're so active in our lives that we forget that we've actually made progress, because what we're focused on today is what's going on today. So a lot of times I've had people even, for example, come in with really chronic neck pain, and their focus will shift, and I'll track that over the course of 3 or 4 cycles, let's say, and I'll say, they'll say, well, this is bothering me now, and this is bothering me. And I'll say, well, let's just go back to where you started. How's your neck pain? Oh my God, I don't even have that anymore. I forgot about it. So it actually, sometimes just you have to remember where you started, and as the shifts happen, your focus is going to change. And so you always have to really measure progress, where your energy's at, how your sleep quality is, how your digestive tract is doing. For most people, how much energy they have and how much focus they have. And that will definitely shift.
Yeah. And it can be very subtle. And I've talked to clients, like they've done like their first month on NES, and I asked them, so did you feel anything? And they're like, I really didn't feel any changes. And they didn't listen to me, where I told them, if you don't feel any change the first 7-10 days, increase your drops. A lot of them forget that. So you have to be very wary of remembering that you have to increase the dose. And then I'll start probing a little bit more. So did you have more vivid dreams? We're like, you know what? I did. I really had a lot more vivid dreams. Or they will, or they'll be waking up in a little bit better mood, or they won't feel as irritated, or they'll have these very subtle changes, or they'll be sleeping a little bit better and they're not waking up as much at night. But these are things that can be attributed to other things, or things you don't really notice, but they are in fact attributed to NES. So people have to be very, 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 aware of their body. And not a lot of people are very aware of their body or in touch with their body, and might not notice these subtle changes.
That is so true. I was working with my mom, who's 85 years old, and it was quite an education process for both of us as we moved through a year and a half, her first year and a half on NES. That she was actually had amazing change over the period of a year and a half. And I would always ask her, how did this feel? And how did your energy? Oh, I hadn't really thought about that. It's better. How's your sleep quality? Are you still waking up? Well, I'm waking up about 2 times a night. Well, she was waking up like 4 times a night. So it really is about probing a little deeper and just paying attention to the shifts that are occurring each time. It really is. The probing is always where you get to the place where you recognize that there is a lot of shift going on. But I can't say enough about increasing dosages, and there's not that many people that need to increase the dosages really high. I would say an average of 9 or 15 on between the 3 and 6 infoceuticals that you can go on at one time, will generally speaking give you a really nice shift over the course of the couple weeks that you're on those infoceuticals. But there are some people that are highly sensitive and they can't take that much. And then there's those people that they're already pretty robust. They're already pretty, and they're just looking for that edge. They're looking to optimize, to supercharge themselves, so to speak. And sometimes that does require higher dosages.
Yeah, and
So
that's me. And that's me. And I do
yeah,
have a lot of friends or family members I put on NES, and they're very healthy people, and they'll do it for a couple months and be like, I didn't feel anything, and get bored and want to do something else. And I strongly caution against that and giving NES a chance, because you can't feel your immune system improving so much. You can't
right.
feel your body's polarity improving, all these things that are imperceptible, but they are occurring. But also
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about, and I was going to say, my other point was that if you're a relatively healthy person, you might not feel these, dramatic shifts that someone might if they're very, very ill or have multiple health diagnoses.
Absolutely. There's a lot of detox many times that has to happen. And there's a lot of energy that has to be built in the body with a chronic disease. But most importantly, it can happen really fast. Many chronic diseases, there's some really trapped emotions and trauma that's set in the body. And when we really get into the mind screen and we work with those infoceuticals, especially like the infoceutical called Liberator, it's profound how fast, because it's draining to the body. When you have emotional tape loops, so to speak, that are circulating in the body, it's very draining. And when we release that drain from those emotions, the energy starts coming up. And it's when the energy comes up that the body can start healing. Because all we're doing with NES is actually activating the body's own innate healing mechanisms. The infoceuticals are not doing the healing. They're correcting the body's energy system so it can actually heal. And yeah.
So let's talk about when somebody's on NES, like myself, and I had really great changes within 30 to 60 days, really happy. And then I continued, on that month 3 and 4 and 5, and I didn't feel a lot of changes. I didn't feel a lot of improvements, but I keep going because I know that I'm going to have, there's all kinds of stuff going on that I can't really perceive, and that I do feel my emotions, my emotional life improving more and more and more, my brain function improving more and more and more as the months pass, but it gets very, very subtle. Can you talk a little about maybe when someone is getting discouraged or maybe haven't felt any changes in a month or two on their NES program?
Yes, I think that it's really just about looking at any areas that are still showing on the scan that are really high in the field. Remember that pyramid I talked about, like day and night when we were in there, for example. Sometimes feeling really low is actually not an emotional thing, it's an energetic thing. Low energy can seem like perceived low mood, or so much is about getting enough energy into the system when you first start. And so sometimes we just have to look and see at the scan at other elements that could be supported high in the field, all of the organs, anything in the screen, the day, the night, the polarity, the big field. Drinking a lot of water. The body is not able to generate energy. We're just like batteries. We're not able to generate energy unless we're hydrated. So just with the NES therapy, really focusing on good sleep hygiene and really drinking a lot of water, because you're trying to give your body what it needs to make shifts that you're wanting. And the infoceuticals are profound at that, but without sleep, without enough water. Those are some like basic critical elements that we all need to consider when we're in any kind of bioenergetic therapy. We have to help kind of support the therapy that we're on. And not being afraid to go a little stronger and a little harder with the infoceuticals. Give it one more round and really try to put in those supportive elements. Try to, put in some getting out in nature to recharge and to reduce stress. Stress is the biggest, I think, it is the biggest detrimental and destructive element for the body. And so ESR, for example, would be an amazing pharmaceutical to just really knock the stress down that might still be draining you or preventing your body field from having enough energy to make the changes. And also just allowing, I think in the first 3 cycles, if you're really aggressive and you're getting some My Health possibly, but even with the pharmaceuticals alone, you should be able to make, a nice shift. But 6 to 8 cycles for someone who has a chronic condition is more reasonable for the amount of time it might take the body to get the amount of energy that it needs and to start making all the energetic shifts, because the physical shifts follow the energetic shifts.
And so when you say 6 to 8 cycles, you're talking about roughly 6 to 8 months, because you need to do 1 scan roughly per month. I do one every 2 to 3 weeks and I get new pharmaceuticals, but most people do it once a month, and that would be a cycle.
That would be a cycle, anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. I usually try to hit the 21-day mark, and 15 drops will generally last about 21 days. But it doesn't matter how fast or slow you go necessarily, you're going to get there. And so if you take, if you spend more money in the short run, it's going to be the same amount of shift as you get in the long run. But yes, 6 to 8 cycles, I tell all my new clients, give it 6 to 8 cycles. And I've never had anybody that really committed and gave it 6 to 8 cycles not have profound change relative to where they started. So, there's only been, I think, maybe one in particular client that was chronically sick. She was diagnosed with severe metabolic syndrome. That kind of thing takes some time, but she called me one day and told me that she did not feel sick anymore. But it was a ways in. It was probably the 7th to 8th cycle of pharmaceuticals. And we had gotten pretty aggressive with her, and she was coming in also for My Health treatments.
Yeah, and especially people that they've had an illness since they were a child, or they had trauma in childhood. That can take quite some time to resolve.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
You have to be patient.
Absolutely. And be so encouraged if you've had something that long and nothing else has worked. Be so encouraged that you're starting to feel a shift.
Yeah.
So I just kind of stay with that. If you're feeling a shift, it means your body is working really hard. It's been there a long time. And generally speaking, nothing else has worked. And so, and they've probably taken a lot of pharmaceuticals, and they've probably got a lot of clearing of that to do. So depending on the person, but it can take getting deeper into the system to get into the core issues, and getting deeper, like peeling back an onion, can take some time. But each step of the way, you should be encouraged, and you should feel a nice shift, if nothing else, in just the amount of energy you have, and a sense that your focus is much clearer.
Debbie, thank you. That was just really amazing. I always love having you go over my scan, because you go through it so deeply and make all these different connections. And you're just a fantastic trainer. And unfortunately, Debbie's not available for practitioner services. She doesn't do appointments with clients, but she is involved in training a lot of the practitioners, like she was with me. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast to enlighten us on what we can see in the scan and what our expectations can be for healing on this type of program.
Absolutely. I'm always happy to. I love NES, and I'm here to help. So if anybody wants to become a practitioner, I'm here to help you with clinical coaching and training.
Fantastic. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening to the podcast.